Today, I'm really, really excited to be chatting with Patrick Janelle of the Instagram handle A Guy Named Patrick. Patrick posts the most beautiful photos of food, fashion, travel. He's quite the jet setter. So today we're checking in on him in SoHo, Manhattan, which is where he's been quarantined for the past 2.5 months. So let's see how he's been doing.
Hi there.
Hello, how are you, Patrick?
I'm great. How are you, Allison?
I'm good. I'm trying to find my light here. It's constantly changing.
I know, right? Well, this is good. We're in the late afternoons. This is perfect.
So you are in SoHo, which is where you've been quarantined for the past couple of months. How's that been going for you?
It's good. I fortunately love my apartment, as I've been saying. So, to be a place to quarantine is not so bad.
Sure.
I have a distinct lack of outdoor space, so that can make it a little bit difficult. But I have a fire escape, which I've been making very good use of.
I've seen your picnics, your famous, fabulous fire escape picnics. Is this
Oh, are they
just
famous
a quarantine? Now? Is that a recent discovery, or have you done this before?
Well, I've used the fire escape in the past, but I would say that was limited to maybe like once or twice a season in the past.
Not every day?
Not every day. The extent to which I've been getting out on the fire escape is definitely a new development.
Okay, so I dove deep last night onto your Instagram account and went way back and found all of these gorgeous pictures from Africa, Brazil. I mean, like, you have been on the most incredible trips. So for somebody who's used to jet setting, has this been a huge adjustment being at home?
It's been a big adjustment, but I feel like there's something that's comforting to me about the fact that everybody else is at home too. Yeah. I think that I would feel the FOMO or like get the itch if I were seeing the rest of the world kind of like in motion, out and about, traveling. But because I'm traveling so much, I actually give myself such limited time at home that this has actually been a kind of nice respite and a good way to kind of like reacquaint myself with the domestic arts, which I love, but don't always participate in regularly. So I have to say, like, all things considered, it's actually been really nice.
Have you been doing anything new to like keep a sense of routine?
I've been turning my living room into a gym occasionally, which is difficult. I mean, my apartment's only like 500 square feet, so I know we're doing a tour today. There's not a lot to see. But
I get it. I'm a New Yorker too. I live in like 500 square feet also.
Yeah. So, you know, the fact that I have to answer your question, I try to do yoga twice a week. I have 9:30 every morning is like the time that I start work. It's when I have a call with my team. 7 p.m. every night, I go out on the fire escape almost every night and clap. And I like see some of my neighbors or a few who I now know and recognize, and we'll wave to each other.
Who you didn't know before?
Who I didn't know before, yeah.
That's special.
Yeah, it is really special. There's actually one friend who I now know, like, we text and we're like friends. She borrowed a ladder today. She lives directly across the street and I hadn't met her before. And then there's somebody like up the street who will lean out her window and will like wave. And then there's somebody down the street and who has kids. I think she has 2 kids and will like wave, and we've said a few words, but those 2 people I don't really know other than the kind of like waves and like acknowledgement. And then the one person across the street who I've actually become like, you know, friends with. So
that's really special. I mean, that's kind of like a nice little silver lining of all of this being stuck at home. I think it's finding those little moments that we wouldn't otherwise have if we weren't stuck at home.
Yeah. And I think, you know, also, well, there's 2 sides of it. One, I've been here in this apartment for 5 years, and I don't think I've ever met anybody else that lives on the street other than in my own building. So I think that I agree, it's a silver lining. And then the other aspect, just the fact that, you know, in this moment right now, we're ostensibly all shut up inside our apartments, and sort of like every window that I see, there's somebody behind it kind of like living their life. And so to be like, to have a moment every day where like we're kind of like being public about that is also really nice. We're sort of like connecting with the other people who are like specifically in this moment experiencing the same things that we are, even though it's in a very isolated way.
I agree. I totally agree. So you've been in your apartment for 5 years.
5 years.
Did you fall in love with it when you first walked into it?
I fell in love with it when I saw photos of it, actually. I had been on the hunt. I was previously in a studio apartment with a roommate, a good friend of mine from high school, Rebecca. She and I were in a studio apartment on Spring Street in SoHo. And I'm 38 now, so I was, early 30s. I was definitely ready for my own place.
Sure.
But I also I have standards. So so I went through the whole sort of rigmarole of trying to find a place that was in my budget and that I loved. And I actually put out a post on Instagram, but this is probably before stories. So I put a post out on Instagram that I was looking for an apartment, and somebody, an old colleague from mine, I worked at Bon Appetit for a couple of years, an old colleague of mine from Bon Appetit said that her new colleague, who I didn't overlap with, was moving out of her apartment and sent me photos. And that was when I first saw this apartment in that email. And I was like, it was one of those things where it was like, I think I want it right now, but I guess I should probably see it in person just to make sure. But like, I walked in and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is beautiful.
And you've been there for ever since.
Yeah, I've been here ever since. I did. So I live in a co-op. The owner of my apartment is an individual who owns this specific apartment. So when I came in, like, he had done a bit of work on the kitchen, and like in general, like the floors were kind of new. So like it had been updated a bit. I mean, this is a pre-war building. Also this is like what would otherwise be a walk up in SoHo, but it happens to have an elevator.
You are so lucky.
I know. It's crazy.
Because I am on the 6th floor of a building on the Upper West Side, and my husband decided he wanted this place because there was a big terrace right off the living room. He's from Colorado. He needed outdoor space. And I thought, this is a great apartment, but it's 90 stairs to get to our apartment.
But a terrace, I mean.
I know. So it's like the trade-off of the stairs, but then you have the terrace. So every time I get home, no matter how fit anybody is, you are always out of breath. So it's one of these things.
That's like the max too. 6 floors. You can't isn't there a law in New York that if it's
I'm not sure it's even legal. Yeah,
we
are probably living in like illegal like chicken coop that was built on top of this old pre-war building.
Are you on the roof?
Yes.
Oh.
It's like another structure that was added on top of the roof.
Oh my gosh, that's a dream for me. That's exactly that'll be my next apartment.
Yeah, if you want to come uptown, but you're hip, you're downtown, so yeah. I wouldn't move.
Right. Yeah, true. I do love my neighborhood. I love being in SoHo. I'm just south of Houston. And I was saying too, I loved my apartment right when I moved in, but I did a few things immediately when I moved in to kind of like not exactly renovate, but build some things in. You can see the shelves behind me. I'm sure
that's where your famous liquor cabinet is.
That's the famous liquor cabinet right there. And then recently the owner paid to revamp the bathroom.
Oh, that's great.
Huge. So I got to sort of like style it and pick out the finishes, and then he redid it for me. So
nice landlord. So is interior design something that you're really interested in?
I mean, I'm just interested in good aesthetics.
Yeah.
So, interior design, like my personal space obviously like fits in with that. And, as maybe as like pretentious as it might sound, like my goal really in everything that I do personally for myself, but then the extension of that is obviously what I'm showing on Instagram, is really to find the kind of like best possible version of life, and like be comfortable and be happy and be like delighted by the things around me. So that's the food that I eat, that I prepare for myself, or the restaurants I go to, the like environment, the design, the decor, the like actual like products that are in my space. Like all of those things are just super important to me, because I figure like we have one life to live. Let's make everything that I'm surrounded by like really like meaningful
and beautiful. And I know you were joking before that the tour won't be that long because it's 500 square feet, but at the same time, I think that when you live small, you're forced to only surround yourself with the most important things and the most beautiful things, and there's really a lack of clutter, I think.
Yeah, well, lack of clutter, we'll see. You can tell after the tour if you think that's true. But also the fact that like I still want a good number of things, and I have to sort of like be specific about obviously what can stay and what needs to go. But because I have to try to like pack as much as I possibly can into the space, it's very important to me that everything has its place.
Sure.
And like this, like storage solutions and like compartmentalizing and like finding a specific spot for things that I don't want to part with, even though it might be crazy. All of those things, you know, kind of come into play with how I situate my space.
So have you rearranged anything in your apartment during quarantine to make it feel different?
Well, okay, so this is, should I,
Yeah, let's take a look.
all right, do you want to see my point of view, or do you want to see like it behind me? What's the best way to do that?
So try, what I would do is flip it while you're describing things, and then you can kind of toggle back and forth.
Okay. So this is my kind, oh, there we go. You can see me anyway.
There we are.
So I'm not sure how much of this you can see, but this is my kind of like famed gallery wall. And it gets the best light in my apartment, and it also has the most kind of wall space. Obviously that like exposed brick wall is beautiful and like quintessential New York. So this kind of always gets some sort of like makeover every couple months. I mean, it's really just like I have plenty of artwork so I can kind of rearrange.
Right.
Recently I was obsessed with like adding this mirror, like, you know, just like hanging out
I love
on
that
this
mirror.
floating shelf. So that was, yeah, that's probably like the newest thing. And I actually feel like, I mean, even right now the light is really pretty. This is kind of like grown-up version. If you would have seen this like a year or two ago, it was even more kind of like eclectic and maybe felt like a little more kitschy. But I mean, it's still a little kitschy, but I feel like it feels a little bit more kind of like refined.
Are some of the things that are on your table little items from your travels?
Yeah, so well, like over here, okay, so this is the famous liquor cabinet across here.
This is beautiful.
Thank you. And, you know, also has kept me very good company during this time. This little thing, I went to Noma, Mexico, when they did a pop-up in Mexico, the famous restaurant, and this was like a little parting gift. And then these shells my boyfriend Eric collected in, well, probably all during a lot of our travels, but we were most recently in the British Virgin Islands. So that's where those were from. This I bought in an old thrift store in Germany. I used to live in Frankfurt, Germany. And so I bought that there. What else? This, I mean, random things. This is from my trip to Kenya, like this brass thing. I think I bought this at like a little store in Colorado. Oh, by the way, where's your husband from? I'm from Colorado too.
Denver.
Okay, I'm from Fort Collins, which is north of Denver.
Not that far.
Not that far. This piece right here, this is, I bought this in Brazil, in Rio, and this print is actually, so this is on some sort of like canvas or cotton, but the print is traditionally something that I don't know exactly which people, but a tribe in Brazil, they will paint these designs onto their body. And so there was a store in Santa Teresa, a little hillside neighborhood in Rio, that was working with them to take those prints and putting them on fabric. And so I bought that and framed that. I love that piece. This I bought in Tokyo when I went with my friend Severine. We literally just walked into it in like a gallery, and the artist happened to be there. So I met the artist who made that. Oh. This is one of my favorites. It's super random. I just pulled this off of a street post in Minneapolis, but I thought that it was like so fitting to me. Obviously, Patrick's Cabaret, and when I lived in that SoHo studio, I used to put on cabaret shows in my backyard, and so I had this sort of like, it wasn't called Patrick's Cabaret, it was Spring Street Social Society, but I had this sort of like connection with, I don't know, the performing, and then I don't know, I just love the names of the movies: Fearless Freaks, Food Matters, Burning Man. So
it's so perfect. And you just found it on, like, it was posted on a wall or something?
Yeah, it was like on a street post, like on a street light, and it was obviously weathered. It was like past July 9th or whenever that was, so it was obviously old, and took it to be mine.
I love that.
And then this is an old map that my dad bought in like the 70s in Los Angeles, and I inherited it. And I lived in LA also for like 3 or 4 years, so this is kind of like a special piece to me. And then this is a friend of mine, Matt G, who's on Instagram. He took this photo, and I bought this print off of him. So yeah, and then
so it's an eclectic mix, which is cool. It's like some photography. So, I mean, it's how do you decide what makes the cut?
It's honestly just kind of like whatever jumps out to me, like what I really love. I mean, you know, I think there's a balance. I don't want to buy something just because it's sort of like graphically interesting. Like I'm probably not going to buy something at, you know, like Urban Outfitters or something, or
Right.
or even like a gallery where maybe there's like less of a kind of connection for me. But if I like sort of visually and aesthetically what's happening, and then I also like this sort of connection that I have, whether it's because I was traveling, I know the person. This is a piece that I have from my friend Brian Casper, who's a lettering artist. Like the story is as important to me as the actual, you know.
Yeah,
sort of,
I think it's personal.
yeah.
How do you hang on brick? Do you have a trick?
So this is probably like the sketchiest way to do it, but if you can see, I literally just will put a tiny little nail in the mortar, and fortunately it's not like too brittle, and these things are not like super heavy. So if you look across my wall, you'll see that they're literally just like nails everywhere. So it also kind of helps when I'm rearranging. I also just kind of find like, oh, where's a nail? Let's hang there. And then of course, if I want to like make it look a specific way, then I'll add another nail. But there are just like so many nails dotted throughout
But they're small, so you can't see them.
Yeah, you can't see them. Yeah, they're little white ones, so they kind of blend in.
Okay, where should we go next?
Well, I'll show you like a wide view of my living room. So
you
okay,
have great light.
Yeah, in the morning and afternoon. I'm gonna wipe my lens real quick. Okay, so the light is beautiful, but this is like the only window that actually gets light. So that's why when I take photos of my apartment, you pretty much only see the living room. So when I first moved in, you'll see this whole kind of like floating desk.
It's so smart. Did you put that in?
Yeah, I put that in. I worked with a guy who built that in. And the nice thing about it is that it both provides, you know, obviously a place for me to work or to put objet, books, etc. And then there's also storage. I mean, every drawer is packed. Oh, this is sunglasses collection.
Oh, that's so fun. You're very organized.
Well, again, like I kind of need to be, well, this is less organized, but this is like the work drawer.
But everybody is allowed one junk drawer, I think.
Oh, well, I have like 5 junk drawers. This is the electronic. This is the electronic junk drawer. So basically, it also provides plenty of storage like in the drawer space, because otherwise I wouldn't have any drawers. And then also, this is sort of a cheat, but it's kind of like storage underneath, because if you were to just like put things against the wall without this shelf here, it would just look like clutter. But now, I mean, it still kind of looks like clutter, but at least it's like it has a space to go because you're tucking it in under something.
Yeah, it's organized clutter.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, all of this is Eric's, my boyfriend's stuff, all of his like wall hanging.
I saw he made a beautiful piece of art with it.
Yeah, he's working right now, so we won't disturb him, but this is what he's working on right now.
You're lucky. You let him stay inside. I locked my husband outside. I was like, you can't be in here.
Oh, well, he basically minds his own business, so I'll let him stay.
That's hilarious.
This is the piece that'll be finished up later this week, so.
So do you have a most favorite piece in your apartment?
What is my most favorite piece? That is a good question. Oh, yes. This is my, okay, so flipping back the other way. Now we're back at the sofa. This is the rest of the apartment. So we basically have, there's like kitchen, dining, work, bar, and then living room where I'm at. And then back this way is the bedroom and bathroom. So this is a bronze and marble table that I also had made for the space, because again, I felt that it was important to kind of maximize my space. And like if I had like a dining table here, it would just feel weird that there's like a low table in the middle of the room. But having something that's higher that like functions as a workspace and a table dining space made sense to me, and it fits kind of like properly. Well, technically I had the table made for these stools. I found the designer's Cleo Baldwin, who makes, I don't know designers very well, but I know that he made these. He did a lot of like outdoor furniture, kind of like late mid-century. And I found these at a vintage store in Hudson. So there were only 2 of them, and I bought them before I had this table. And so I literally had the table made to fit the height of these stools. You can see it's like coming apart.
They look really comfortable though.
They're super comfortable, and I think they're kind of chic. So,
and I like the mixing of the sort of marble and then what is the other textile?
Marble and so basically what I had done, I worked with there's a maker in Brooklyn, Kent Steel Co. is his handle, and it's his company. And we were working together on creating something. And at first I just wanted like a full marble top, but he was having a hard time finding like a solid piece of marble. And when he did, it was just super expensive, like it was that large. So then he was like, well, why don't we do a brass top? And then I think I came up with the idea to sort of split it two-tone, or maybe he did, I forget whose idea it was, but I love it. This is like my favorite feature of it. So like the rest of the table is brass, the legs and whatnot, and then this is now
it's
like
beautiful.
It's
all right. So that's your favorite piece. Do you have a biggest splurge and biggest save?
Let's see. What would be my biggest splurge and save? What might that be? Well, so to give you another little story about these, I mean, obviously these are not like the best bar stools, and they're not cool. But I felt like they were at least like from the same era, I felt like. And they also, well, this is not an outdoor table, there's something kind of like outdoor going on here. So I found these at a vintage store in Vegas. There's some really good vintage furniture shopping in Vegas. And this was at a moment, the way that I tend to shop, I'm less like, just go out and shop and see what I find, and a little bit more like, okay, I need this thing, now's the moment, and like go out and find it. So I knew this was kind of like a moment when I was like on the hunt for some bar stools. So I was in a shop in Vegas. I bought these and had to like work with the owner to like ship them back out to New York, and the shipping was probably more than like the actual stools. So I don't know if that was my biggest splurge, but that was definitely like
because of the shipping.
Yeah. This, I don't know if this counts as a save, but I didn't show you this side of here. I'll flip the other way. I didn't show you this side of the apartment. So this is my bike, and this is like, the reason I'm considering this a save right now is because this functions both as art and transportation.
That's because it's a chic bike,
right? So my dad bought this bike in 1973 or 4, and he used to race on it. And then in like probably about 12, 13 years ago, I was living in Los Angeles, and he brought it out to me, and I've had it there ever since.
And the way that it's hanging is very cool.
Yeah, this is actually just from CB2. I mean, I bought it 5 years ago, and then it has like a little, can you see has like a little compartment up top, so that's where I keep my lock, and I have like a little light and things like that. So it's like uber functional.
Do you get around the city a lot on your bike?
It depends on the season. I haven't been I haven't really been outside much at all, but in general, yes. I also have a city bike membership because I find that it's easier sometimes just to be able to go to point A to point B without needing to worry about, like I ride my bike to dinner, have a few cocktails, and take a cab home, that sort of thing.
Smart not to get back on that bike.
Yeah. So, but I do ride my bicycle around the city quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay, so back to your bar.
Okay.
What is your go-to drink?
Let's see. Well, I was in the middle of sipping a cocktail. I was drinking a Manhattan today. This is definitely a go-to.
Great.
It kind of depends on my mood. I mean, I basically have a favorite cocktail for every spirit type. So if we're talking about, I'll face this way, you can see the bar.
Perfect.
If we're talking about gin, I like a gimlet, which is basically gin lime. If we're talking about rum, have you ever had a jungle bird?
No.
A jungle bird is a classic tiki drink, pineapple, lime, simple syrup, rum, obviously, but it has Campari in it. So it's like has a sort of like bitter edge to kind of like round out the sweetness.
That sounds delicious.
That's a really good one. Yeah, I obviously love a margarita. If we're talking tequila, so it kind of just depends on my mood.
And I like that it's not a bar cart. I often don't see how you've organized it, but it allows for more liquor, and that all the bottles are so pretty.
Yeah, the bottles are super pretty. And I mean, I'm a little bit more, I mean, you can definitely get away with like, I think a proper bar should have about like 8 bottles. I don't know, you like 5 to 8 bottles, depending on like what you definitely drink all the time. But I would much prefer having like everything I could possibly want. Also, I don't know if you know, but I have an app called the Liquor Cabinet.
Yes, but I saw that with your brothers.
Yeah, exactly. So
have the three of you always been kind of drink connoisseurs?
Well, I wouldn't say always, because growing up we didn't drink. We came from like a very conservative Christian household, so like drinking was taboo. But as adults, we sort of each separately kind of like found our way to, you know, drinking and appreciating beer, wine, spirits. And then, yeah, we decided to start the app together. I don't know, it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago at this point.
So it's with your two brothers, and it's like a one-stop shop for everything you could possibly need for drinks, right? You have recipes.
So basically, at the very core, it's cocktail recipes. So, you know, all of this here is because I have 120 cocktail recipes in the app, and I want to make sure that I have the spirits to make any one of those recipes at any given time. So it's cocktail recipes. We also talk about the stories behind the cocktails. There's like a repository of liquor bottles. You can learn more about liquor. We have a whole sort of compendium when it comes to talking about bar tools. So really just like a super like educational, informative tool for really especially making cocktails at home, but also ordering cocktails out of the bar.
Well, you have your hands everywhere because you have this app, and then you're obviously managing your own incredible brand, but then you also have a brand management agency now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Untitled Secret.
So you are just working 24 hours a day while in your apartment?
Yeah, working 24 hours a day with a cocktail in hand for many of them. Yeah, I mean, lots going on, but I'm kind of, the way that I'm just wired is that I never stop, and I keep having ideas, and I want to work on those ideas, and I want to figure it out. I have a team of 4 who works with me on the agency. So yeah, we represent talent, mostly sort of like the individuals who sort of straddle the line between like professional and digital talent. So we have a roster of about 8 people. And then, and we also do sort of creative services in terms of social media marketing, content creation, experiential marketing when that's possible, you know, events and that sort of thing. Yeah, that takes up probably a majority of my time. And then all of my individual pursuits for a guy named Patrick, obviously my Instagram, I do occasional videos on YouTube, I have my website, and then the liquor cabinet.
So when you can finally take a break and relax and enjoy, what is going to be your first trip?
Well, hopefully there will be a trip this summer, which we haven't necessarily decided on, but Eric and I actually a couple weeks ago bought tickets to Peru. I have never been. We've been multiple times to South America, but never to Peru. Well, Eric has been to Peru, but I have not. So that's happening in the fall. I'm hoping like that'll be, I think that's probably the trip that we'll be looking forward to for a while. I'm sure we'll probably do some like domestic travel this summer, but that remains to be seen. I'm not sure.
What about the first restaurant I know there's a lot of takeout in New York City, but the first proper sit down meal, where will that be?
That is a good question. Well, I mean, one of my favorite restaurants in the city is Pasquale Jones down in Nolita. They make a mean thin crust pizza and really good sort of like veggie dishes and really great wine list. So I could imagine maybe doing that. I also love Minetta Tavern.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of just like classic
Cozy.
New York. Yeah, totally cozy. I just want like a cold martini and a burger there. So I could imagine like that's where Minetta Tavern is a place. There's no outdoor seating, so it's not the type of place to go on those like quintessential, like spring, early summer days when you want to sit outside. It's either a place when it's like super cold out because you want to be cozy, or it's like so fucking hot out that you need a place that's like blasting the AC. So yeah, so I think that'd be good. But I live right around the corner from so many good restaurants. There's the Dutch, there's Westbourne, there's Charlie Bird.
Yeah, you're in a fabulous area.
All of these are really great, and I love all of those restaurants.
Patrick, it was such a treat to get a little tour of your apartment
Yep.
and see a bit more than what we normally see in the pictures.
Okay,
It's gorgeous.
I'm going to show, just because this is something that never gets seen, I'm going to show you my bedroom. It's very dark.
I would never want to ask, but yes, let's see it.
Okay, so this is walking back. The reason I never show it is because it just gets so dark back here, and I need an electrician because my light isn't even working. But you can see, I'll pull back a little bit. You can see all of my coats, my outerwear, and my suit jackets are hanging over my bed. I don't know like how well you can see this, but this is because I basically have no storage. And then this is, yeah, I mean, this is it. It honestly looks a little bit cuter in real life, but it's very small and petite.
But you know what? If you're going to have a dark room in an apartment in New York, let it be the bedroom, because that's just where you sleep. I mean, you have the fabulous light in the living room, which is probably where you spend more of your time.
Which is where I spend most of my time anyway. Sorry that my light is like so intense right now.
No, it's like sunset, so it's probably blending. I love that you've painted your hallway a darker color.
Yeah, and it's the ceiling is darker, and actually, if you could see the bedroom, it's also like a kind of dark gray. I'm pretty sure I used I used Pharaoh and Ball throughout.
Is that a piece of your boyfriend's artwork hanging?
Oh yeah, this was his first ever macrame piece.
Oh, how cool!
Yeah, this is the most kind of like simple version. He doesn't really do kind of like simple macrame like that anymore.
Big pieces now.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, this piece, now that he's not in front of it, but this piece is probably like 5 feet wide by 3 feet tall.
And is he making this for you or for your apartment?
No, this one's commissioned for somebody who's commissioned him. He has.
Well, you get to enjoy it while it's being created, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that he works so hard on them that he also, I think, gets to a point where he's like kind of tired of it. So I think it's always nice that he can like, we can have a piece, we can enjoy it for a little while, and then kind of like
send it to its new home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, stay safe in quarantine and enjoy that fire escape and those fabulous picnics that you have. And thank you so much for chatting.
Yeah, so nice to chat with you. Thank you.
Of course, see you in person in New York sometime soon.
Okay, I hope so. I'm gonna come crash your pad sometime.
If you can make it up those 90 stairs, you're more than welcome.
Okay, sounds great.
Bye, Patrick.
Bye.